Yes, we're ready to start.
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, not what you don't.
You have actually opened the door to another dimension.
Hello. 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 Hello.
This is really funny. Really funny. Wait a minute.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, folks. And we're back again, as if it's a...
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Let's see. This... One side of my face out, or is it the hat? Is it whatever? You know, I slept for the longest time, that you could possibly imagine.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
And try a cup of coffee. This is the 100% Colombian. Yesterday, I thought it tasted better than the Kona blend, but now today, this kind of tastes like burnt police station coffee. I used to be a police detective.
Oh, no.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, but I'll tell you.
I've resigned. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered.
You know it. And for some reason, I just accidentally removed something from somewhere that I didn't want to remove it. So I'm going to have to delete that, empty trash, and hope that we didn't delete the original.
Did you accidentally inject yourself with some kind of psychotropic agent?
No, but the title of this show is...
You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'll just do my little chat. The title of this show is ROCKFLUX Live 1014, and
you're now in a different continuum.
And it's that. Okay. Now I've taken care of all of that sort of thing. And now it's time to, I took one of those pills. I swear my face seems off-centered. But this should be the side that would be swollen if it was swollen. Because this is the side that I have a toothache on. Maybe it's because the hat's, kind of half-cocked. This whole show's half-cocked. We had a power cut last night. Anyway, we'll get in all kinds of stuff in a little while. I should wake up, hopefully. I'll either wake up, pass out, and die or whatever, but anyway.
The Weather Watch forecast.
And here it is. The latest view from low Earth orbit Kona satellite, operated by NOAA and paid for by your tax dollars. And it's forming United States, and you can see the curvature of the Earth there for those flat earthers. Of course, they don't believe in NOAA, NASA, or anything of that stuff because they're psychopaths. Mental midgets. Anyway, as you can see, this disturbance in the midsection of the country is gradually heading east. And they're saying there could be some crazy stuff going on here Friday. Today is October 14th, Thursday, October 14th. I might have some guy said he was going to try to get to it this week to fix one portion of my roof, but Friday, tomorrow's supposed to be like some crazy-ass storm. So unless the guy's planning to show up this afternoon or today, so much for that. And then the temperature goes down into like 40s or something. It's going to get crazy. The weather changes like a dime on here this time of year. In other words, you go from like 70s, then it just goes down to the 50s, and the nights are in the 40s. It's just like that's it. And then once it changes, it changed. It's gone. It's gone. So we were lucky. We had a good run of it. But in my neck of woods, it's looking like it's going to be warm for 2 more days, but then it's going to rain on the weekend. So, but in your neck of the woods, which is visible on the screen, I don't know why CONUS seems to be giving more of the Gulf and Mexico than, I mean, you know, in other words, it's like its angle is focused more on there. I guess they're looking for tropical storms or something. I mean, it seems like there's some serious cloud activity over in the lower right-hand corner, which could be the beginning of some storm. I haven't been following anything of that sort. But there's some heavy, looks like there's some heavy rain. Those are some thick, high clouds there, that's for sure. Just like right down at the tip of, you know, the Gulf on the near Texas, there's that big puff of cloud. It's like, you could tell that's a pretty thick, high cloud. That's given some. There's something coming out of that thing, that's for sure. The rest of the country looks pretty much like just cloud cover. In my area, we had a fog advisory. Like there's a 1/4 mile visibility and 0 visibility in some areas until 10 o'clock this morning, they were saying. But I'm not going anywhere.
The Weather Watch forecast.
Blammo. I'm back. So, let's get this thing out of the way. You know, we don't like the news. I don't want to deal with the news, but here's the Google News. Google News. See, Google. The reason I brought this one up is there was a couple things on here that I thought were slightly of interest. Okay. A bow and arrow attack in Norway leaves 5 dead and 2 injured. So much for gun laws, right? It's like the gang bangers, you know. It's like they do more knife killings than shootings. I mean, that's knife is their weapon of choice, like that song, "Weapon of Choice." You know. And then the thing that got me about this, and I'm not going to spend some time on this, but I mean, it's just weird. Is Trump's power over Republicans guarding a slip? Trump urges Republicans to sit out outcoming elections. All right, Jeffrey Clark, a Trump DOJ official, subpoenaed by... Do you see how the media just can't, like, forget about Trump? Like, what is it? It's, like, kind of goofy. Like, the obsession with this cult of personality is really weird. My face definitely does look off-centered. It's got to be the way the hat's on. I really don't care that much. But anyway, just remember that it's the sun that is your source of heat, light, life, climate, and everything. And that's all you need to know. Title card from this show is "Thanks for the Pepperoni." That'll make sense later. right? There's a cat has come very early. That's a kitty. It's covered with fur. He's covered with fur. What are you sniffing? You gonna hang out, sit under the light? Or what? Or go somewhere else? You're gonna go somewhere else. You're ready to jump. Look before you leap. You're more than welcome to stay if you wanted to. I took one of those supplements. It's that stuff like that's in Turkey, begins with an M. I can never remember the name of it. I'm like really groggy. It's like I could, but the thing is I went to bed at laid down and shut my eyes by 6:30 last night. The reason being because a FedEx truck hit a pole literally a half a block up from me. And the power was out from 2 in the afternoon until 8 o'clock or so at night. 6 hours back to, living without electricity. Now, of course, it didn't matter to me. And I was thinking, partway through it, like I said, I apologize for being groggy, but I can't believe, whatever that, what do they call that stuff? I gotta look it up. I'm so groggy. New window, ingredient in turkey that makes you sleepy. Tryptophan. No, that wasn't the stuff. Supplement sleep aid. Begins with an M. It's best inducing supplements. Maybe I took the wrong thing. Oh, melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that the body produces naturally and it signals your brain and it's time to sleep. So I took one of these melatonin things and I'm groggy. I'm still groggy. Because, see, the thing is, I went to bed so early that I woke up, it was midnight. So I said, well, I'm going to take one of these melatonin things. I got to get to sleep because I already slept for 6 hours. But apparently it hasn't worn off yet. That's weird. People react differently to different things. It's either that or the reason my face seems out of balance. This side seems like it's out more. If it's not just an illusion because of the cap. The teeth has finally infected something that's basically on the verge of just knocking me out. This will be the end of the last show you'll ever see. This is the last show we'll ever do. And Bowie used to do that stuff, remember? That was one of his things. Part of his shtick, So yeah, the power was out, but I didn't bring the thing down with me because I have it up in the bedroom because I was using it last night. But, the NOAA weather radio, that's a combination flashlight, charger devices, has a USB charger on it. It's had been solar charging up in the attic because there's a window up there, and I had it up there because I've been doing work in the attic. And so I listened to no radio, and then I have this other shortwave radio, so I was listening to that. And then I thought I'd read my book. You can't watch TV. And it's like, oh, wait, guess what? There's always reading, and I happen to have written 10 books, and I haven't really gone through this one. Anyway, I did find in the holiday horror story, I'll tell you right now, there's no page, because this was a flow of consciousness, there's no page numbers. And I found a annoying algorithmic typo, because I went over this stuff, and like I tell you, sometimes these programs, they change stuff on their own, right? Anyway, when you get to the point, if you buy this book, I guess I could see, the thing is, not having page numbers this is going to work against me, but I used this program that it would have been very difficult to have the page numbers on. And since it was also available in digital form, everything gets shuffled anyway. So I said, the hell with a page number, who needs it? It's a book. Anyway, I put on a shirt, quickly hurried downstairs, and found the light still on, the candles burned out, and for some strange reason the door to the basement opened, and a light coming up from below. Now, what the heck is that supposed to mean? It shouldn't have, the D-O, it should be, so I have to cross this out, and it's a dim, it should be a dim. A dim light coming up from below. There also, I noticed in the early part of the book, I don't know if this is the one I did the markup on. This is a signed copy. Since I did that alteration, I'll make this an autographed edition. Now, I gave a book out already to someone, and they may well have gotten the one that I found. There was also the classic mistake that this computer does, and I'll have to reread in the first section. It's not on there. Anyway, get the book. When you self-publish a book and self-edit, things like this happen sometimes. And you just have to deal with it. It's not a really big deal. I once had a book, I had somebody criticize, this is a long time ago, something I wrote, saying, was expecting it should have been perfection. And I'm like, I don't have some, major publishing company and a personal editor, so, there's going to be 2 or 3 weird things that happen, especially when you're dealing with computers, that are willy-nilly sometimes editing stuff for you. It's hard, and I type fast. And like I say, I usually read the work I did the previous day. That's how I start my day. I reread what I wrote the day before and then get into writing what I'm writing today. That's my editing process. And I don't go back and read the entire book at that point because I've gone back. But I think what happens is sometimes when you close the file or something, some of these programs will change things. This is the problem with AI and algorithms. Not the stuff that Elon Musk is afraid of. What bothers me about them is that they take the liberty of thinking I meant T-O-O-O, 2 O's instead of 2. And those were the other 2 errors I found thus far. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 other ones. But these are minor things, but for some people, it just bothers them. They'll say, oh, you don't know the difference between T-O and T-O-O. It's like, yeah, I know the difference. The problem is AI doesn't know the difference. Right? Like I was having the biggest problem with than, T-H-A-N. Every time I would type than, and I used it often, because I was talking, like, this would be closer than, the communicator is closer than the, letter opener is to my head. This is closer than this. And it kept like underlining the red little squiggly line under than. Well, it wasn't closer than, right? Than is a comparative word, right? Yeah. And I've come up across that multiple times, as if like it's this, however this algorithm is written, these spell checking stylistic algorithms, somebody like royally goofed on that code. Because I even saw that in a different program. And I'm sure there's somebody thinking right now, well, no, it's got to be you. No. Than is than. I mean, the thing actually had me so paranoid at one point that I actually was looking in through style books and seeing somehow like what else could I use? And there is nothing else to use. It's than. T-H-A-N. It was proper usage. The algorithm was wrong. But sometimes it's like with Twitter has done this in the past, and many people could attest to this, that it will just change it after you push, post or tweet or whatever the heck the stupid thing is. I don't do it anymore. I put a link to these videos, but if I post them sometimes, but that's about it. But it's like the algorithm is so determined that it's like how it puts that thing underneath and it just keeps putting it there and you have to hit the X, it doesn't like your word. And it's like, yeah. For the longest time, I mean, they've eventually changed it. I may have gotten into this once before. But for the longest time, I remember on like Microsoft Outlook Express, that was a program I was thinking about the other day that I used to really like. I like their email program better than Apple's Apple Mail. But in their spell checker built into it, it was like automatic. You could shut these things off. All right. But I mean, the benefits, the mistakes, they are good to have, right? Because they're helpful. Generally speaking, except they're flawed. And in the year 2021, with these people making 6 and 7 figures working on these project teams, they should be, and considering that we have, the Webster's Unabridged Dictionary and, Encyclopedia Britannica and stuff, they should be able to have, had that stuff thrown in, right? Instead, they're using things like Wikipedia, which are like riddled with errors and political. But for the longest time, Microsoft was like, it was like not accepting the word like internet, like as if it was a thing. It would give you an error. And it took a couple of years before its spell checker actually accepted the word internet. Like it was like saying it would give you like 5 different other choices. Like there's what's the algorithm is like, there is no internet. What's internet? Really weird stuff. Anyway, semi-depressed. But anyway, so I decided to read while the power was out. So I read my own horror story, which is weird, by the way. Some people, besides the typo, do comma instead of the word dim. Like, how did it even get at that? Like, obviously it's something I couldn't have done myself. Do, D-O, comma, instead of the word dim. I mean, it's not even like on the keyboard. Like, I could see, well, it is conceivably could have been typed fast. The O is next to the I and the comma is next to the M. It could have been my mistake, but then again, it could have been the algorithm thinking that that's what I wanted to do. I don't know. So anyway, that's the beginning of that show.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
And
I want my favorite DJ to give everybody the word. Who's on the turntables tonight, my son?
It's Tony Caravan Live. My son. The Wolfman Jack. Man.
Your papers, please.
There were a lot of characters in the early days of radio. And like I say, man, there's no reason why I should be so groggy. It's 5:53 a.m. And 12 hours ago, I basically laid my head down to rest. So I'd say that's enough time to sleep. So I don't know. I'm supposed to have a couple of drinks today. Someone, which is, I haven't had a drink, beer, since like early July or something like that, See, this is the side of the mouth that should be causing a problem. Yeah, it's just this side. So there's no reason why the face on the other side should have that Robert, I was going to say Robert Goulet, but it's the other guy. He was married. His wife was married to this singing couple, Steve and Edie. Steve, I don't forget what his last name, but Steve, and it was Edie Gourmet. And Steve, what was his name? But he was like a lounge singer. But he had like his face was kind of like, one side was like a little bit, laryngeal. That doesn't mean anything to you, I know. But that was like taking you
back to the realms and depths of time.
Back to the lounge show days. All right, so we're going to continue with our music feature. And today, I thought I would feature George Harrison's All Things Must Pass album. Now, this was a box set that he came out with. There was like at least 3 discs. It could have been 4 discs, at least 3. You could check on that. One of them was just a real long jam. And I believe that particular one had a song on it called Thanks for the Pepperoni. I used to always wonder what that meant. And then I realized it was just probably an abbreviation like for ordering a pepperoni pizza, thanks for the pepperoni. When I was younger, I used to think like they were handing him like this, like you'd seen some kind of deli, thing of pepperoni that you had to slice or something. It's weird. The other thing that's been happening is my shirt has been sliding down on the one side. On the other side, stretching. Yeah, really weird. So yeah, this guy in a FedEx truck hits a pole, and of all the poles to hit, I should have taken a picture of it, but you know, it was a scene. There were too many other gawkers out there. And the only reason I was even out and even noticed the thing was because I had some guy meeting somebody to look at my roof. And we were standing in a similar spot to basically look at, from that angle to see the spot that needs repair where the water's getting in. I mean, one of the worst spots, put it that way. But anyway, this guy basically chopped this pole off at the knees. But it was, this particular pole, some poles just, have the wires and some cable wires on there, your basic stuff. Telephone pole. But this one happened to have a transformer on it, a street light, and a bunch of other stuff. It was like a pretty, pole with a lot of crap on it. And so sure enough, the power was out. So it's interesting, And, it's funny because I've been talking about this kind of thing and telling you why you need, let me just get rid of this. Back here, the jackery, right? It's because, people sometimes run into a pole. I've used that. Of course, I've said people with texting and driving, but who knows? Maybe that guy was doing it. I don't know what he was doing because I don't know how he could have hit it. He definitely wasn't paying attention because it's a pole. It was next to a parking lot, like an open parking lot. And there was a lot of like area. So it was something weird was going on. So I had to suffer. And so I ended up taking that melatonin or whatever the heck it is. And I guess my body, just hasn't cleared it yet. I had some breakfast, a big bowl of cereal with, yogurt, cinnamon, honey, blueberries, coconut flakes, shredded wheat, oatmeal. Yeah, like a real, full dose of, healthy stuff from fiber to, vitamin-rich stuff. And I'm drinking caffeinated strong coffee right now. So question is, 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the former United States, will I wake up?
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
Okay, back to George Harrison's album. So yeah, this was Harrison's big album. I guess there was stuff, I had seen a documentary on George Harrison. I had no idea someone tried to kill George Harrison at one point. And it was after he had recovered from cancer. And they say he eventually died, but that the beating that he took and stuff, kind of like weakened his body so much that, he couldn't fight. That was one of the theories on why he died, anyway, it's a tragic story. I thought he was one of a very talented guitarist of the age, put it that way. But it seemed to me, and I don't know for sure, but there were probably some songs on here that would have or could have appeared on Beatles albums, but were probably shot down, or since the band broke up, they never got a chance. But it was the good stuff. And, and there's some stuff on here that's obscure to most people because, for it was a box set, and it even at the time it was expensive. So, you had to be a fan, a fanatic type of Beatles fanatic. They just bought everything to do with the Beatles at the time of the breakup and stuff. And then all the Beatles did their solo albums, including Ringo. And of course McCartney was the only one to go on, and we'll feature one of his albums here on one of these days. Have it on deck. But yeah, if you get a chance, Harrison, he was the spiritual guy. If you think about it, I mean, if you look at, the whole concept of the Beatles, the cult of the Beatles has been was definitely cult of personality. That was definitely overplayed. But I mean, since it was, and it is a reality, I might as well get into it. So if you have to look at that, group, you had McCartney, which was, like one of his songs, the silly love songs, right? Guy, right? You had Lennon, who was like the political, activist type of guy. You had Ringo, who was just the good time, drummer, having, being part of a band, hey, it's great, I'm in this band. Though Ringo did have some interesting beats, that if you analyze like some of his drumming, I used to think, well, Ringo was like nothing, just some drummer they had in the band. But there's, if when you get into studying some of his drum playing in some songs and listen to some of the stuff, he had some things going on there. He had some beats in his head, and they came through. But George Harrison then would have been the spiritual guy. And of course, that came out in many of his songs. This is like no great revelation here. It's pretty obvious everything I just said. But there are some people who are like, Beatles, who are the Beatles? That classic line from some movie. Who's Paul McCartney? Or was he in a band before or something? Anyway, all things must past. Just revisiting the records, plural. So it's one of those things you may want to check it out sometime. If you just, you want something on in the background while you're doing some task, something, going on a long distance drive, or doing something where you want to listen to something for hours because it's a couple hours worth of music. Check it out. It's not 100% like great, but like I say, there's a jam on it. It was like one of the first albums. Only somebody of the stature of a Beatle, so to speak, could get away with that, having like a side that was just a jam session. Just a bunch of musicians just jamming. And I think that was Thanks for the Pepperoni. I think that was the title of the jam, but I'm not sure. But anyway, check it out. It's our music feature. We've been doing for the last week or so. I'm going to continue doing it. Keep music, pop culture. I'm the king of pop culture. Right? What does it say in the back of my book? Forget. Can't remember anything. the final tome of a 10-book volume that explores the mind and biography of one of the most influential, yet under the radar, truly legendary pop cultural figures you never heard of, which is I. George Harrison, All Things Must Pass, recommended. Check it out. Daily photo. Are you ready for this one? I mean, some people know. I used to have a picture of this in my office. And as you could see, it's like I had to censor it. I censored it for YouTube, you know. So, but it still gets the point across. This is Pam Anderson, probably at her absolute hottest, you know, if you really think about it. And this is part of pop culture. See, this is what you know, like I say, you know, before, I'll just put this over top of it for a second. Is Trump's power over Republicans starting to slip? Trump DOJ officials subpoenaed. Why? You know, Donald Trump is just some rich guy, you know, who pushed the right buttons and said the right things later in life. Like if he would have ran 20 years earlier, I think he probably would have been a better president, right? But this whole Save America and cult of personality about, you know, Donald Trump, this politics of pop cult, you know, politics as pop culture is out of control. You know, save America, save what? It's already a technocracy, corporatocracy. This is pop culture. Pam Anderson was pop culture. All right. You know, I mean, this is pop culture. Do you understand? And so people just don't get it. You know, heck, pop culture is pepperoni pizza. I just wanted to put this up because, you know, this is I think, you know, and I believe this was one of the Playboy shots, you know, so let's give credit where credit is due. But, you know, as far as the female form is concerned, as far as, you know, yeah, I think that's her. That had to be her at her hottest. I don't know who the photographer is for that. I wish I did. I would like to give him credit for it, but man, that's an incredible shot. And she was incredible. She still is. Incredible beauty. Natural, the female beauty. Right? Amazing. Pamela Anderson. You could just keep looking at that thing. Yeah, that picture. Not thing. She's not a thing. She's not an object. The objectification of women, I guess I would be accused of. No, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, women that have, you know, who've made a living, you know, on their bodies that way, you know, as an object. So objectifying, you know, but you know, she's got a brain. She's an interesting woman. I've heard her talk. You know, she was also dealing with Julian Assange and, you know, trying to like do her best to help that situation out, which is really one of the tragedies of our time, you know. So hats off to her for that, you know, really. So, yeah, Pam Anderson. That's pop culture, all right? You want to have a cult of personality? There you go, all right? My radishes aren't doing too well. I moved them. If they recover in some way, shape, or form, I'll give you an updated photo. But yeah, so the title card, thanks for the pepperoni. This actually is a picture I took of a pizza shop down the street. A friend of mine has. And so, yeah. In fact, I may well have eaten that pie. Probably did. That was the end of the coffee. I don't know if the cat's still here. Yeah, he is. But it took a long time for them to fix that thing, that pole. And that's what I'm saying, you know, you have to like really deal with this stuff. And people don't, they just don't want to deal with it. Now, I don't know if I have an extra. Yeah, this will be me later. Let's get rid of the title card. Hopefully. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Yeah. But just temporarily, I just want to bring this image up. The Jackery. And, you know, it's not even really the Jackery that I should be showing, but I wish the other thing I have upstairs, I think I put a picture of it in here because I was thinking in terms of, yeah. All right, Jackery. That's going to come to the top. There it is. A little bit blurry. But this is the one, you know, if you look here, you see there's like a transistor radio, which I had on yesterday too, by the way. This thing below here, that's this. All right, the Jackery. And this is the cheapest model that you can get. This one has USB in the center. You can see there's some USB ports and just one plug. And it's like at 240 watts of power. But it lasts a long time. And, you know, it comes in handy. You could charge your smartphone, run your laptop from it. You can plug in a fan, appliance, a light. You know, you're not going to plug in it in this version. This only costs like $199 on great solar stuff. But there's ones that have higher wattage that are available. Excuse me. I'm just going to get rid of that. I just wanted to show you that. But I use that, and I also use the radio, the weather radio that's solar chargeable, you know, that's got everything built into it, which I demonstrated a couple of times, well, many times on this show. And like I said, I should have brought it downstairs, but I left it upstairs because I was using it last night. And that one has a little mini solar panel right on the top of it. It's a small thing, you know, it's about, you know, just this big. Everything is crooked. I don't know what's going on. I'm losing my mind. So, you know, it's got a little tiny solar panel on it. And if you lift the back of the solar panel, it gives a reading light. And that's how I read my story. And unfortunately found my do, comma, which should have been dim. Now that I think of it, it probably was my fault, not the algorithm, though the TOO versus the TO was the algorithm. I'm willing to, you know, I looked at the keyboard. I'm willing to say it's a possibility, a good possibility that was my fault. I am not near perfect when it comes to that. And I don't have an editor. But I used it as a reading light in case I would have needed a flashlight. I don't really need a flashlight because I have these portable lights strategically located around my house. These little circular things. I have one even right here. At all keys, they take like a couple of AA batteries or AAA batteries. I think I have some. I might have some up there even. And so that's not a problem. So I'm prepared for power outages. And like I say, I have a small shortwave radio, AM FM shortwave radio, a small AM FM radio that's battery operated. I have the solar chargeable weather AM FM radio. I have the Jackery that I just showed you, which you could plug anything into. I mean, at one point I was down here and I was considering plugging it into my smaller TV that can pick up over the air signals, and possibly my internet box. And I think I could have easily powered the TV and the internet box, and maybe I could have watched something on could have watched YouTube or something like that. Because the TV, the old Apple TV hockey puck thing has a direct line in from my cable box, which is in this room, which is my cable internet box. And the reason I couldn't do that upstairs is I have a wire running through the ceiling, Ethernet wire that connects to my Wi-Fi, basically, like I said, I'm half awake today. Router or whatever, over the air or Wi-Fi thing. And so I would need to have had those two together in order to have them plugged in, powered. So if you're going to get, a Jackery, a lower power Jackery, you almost need to get two of them if you've got stuff separated like I do. And so I either need to buy another one and have one upstairs and downstairs in an instance of this, or I need to get a higher powered one, right? So anyway, that's that. So this is one of those weird days where I am going to play one of my songs. Trying to find it. And I'll be back. I'll be back shortly. Okay?
The souls millions who wander aimlessly around the streets. Dressed as they should, believing what they've been told, doing what they think is right, acting like the others, obedient robots, controlled, doing what they think is right, acting like the others. The mindless masses following the leader, pinning the tail on the donkey, thinking chemically, angrily, chanting, religiously, watching, without independent thoughts, absent of consciousness, acting like the others, obedient robots, random instructions from viral and trendy memes, pressured by the fashionable, the entertainers and announcers. Believing in falsehoods and brainwashed by doublespeak, hypnotized by the cult of personality. Biological machines of complexity, with knowledge and abilities. 21st century parlor tricks for a life of diversion. Locked in time-space forever, without a chance for escape. Lost, forever lost. The indoctrination was successful. The propaganda has been perfected. The pills and potions maintain control. The soulless are now the majority. The free thinkers have surrendered, while natural disasters loom, and love has been replaced with hate. The soulless are the new. The consciousness are fleeing. The cosmic giggle awaits. Free thinkers have surrendered, while natural disasters loom, and love has been replaced with hate.
I'm back. So, did I hear that I just about made it in time, or what? I'm sorry for that break, folks. It just, nature calls, you know? What can I say? Now my coffee's warmer. And we're back, and let's get into the show. So, chairs in order. And thanks for the pepperoni. The title of this show before, as we said, was...
You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum.
Channel check. Left channel. Left channel.
Yeah, left channel. We're certainly not in the right channel, but we're really not in the left channel either. We're not in the center channel. We're in no channel. There is no channel, and the cat was confused because the cat thought it was time to go upstairs. The cat lives for about, I don't know, How many things does a cat live for? Food, to sleep. You know, cats love to sleep. When they're kittens, they like to play. But as they get older, they don't like to play. Like, he'll paw at a toy. I could throw a toy, and then he might go after it. But then he he didn't bring it back or do anything like he used to do when he was a kitten. He was getting, you know. It's not like he's old, but I mean, it's just like, so he's more of a lap cat now. So when I'll go upstairs and watch this show back, you know, the playback, which I do watch, I'm curious to see how long that break was. I have no idea. I think I cut it pretty close. But anyway, he'll sit on my lap. They like to look out the window and get the sun. He's a black cat, and he lays in the sun. And if you try to touch him, you know, because he's like almost hot to the touch, but it doesn't seem to bother him because I guess they have this pelt underneath their fur, you know, protects them. And they need to absorb that vitamin D3. And because they're dark, the darker your skin, at least humans, the harder it is to absorb vitamin D3, the longer it takes. You know, that's why fair-skinned people, you know, get sunburned real quick, you know. And we're at that time of year now where it's like, particularly in the northern latitudes or even mid-Atlantic up, you know, you got to take the vitamin D3 supplements if you want. And you really do need to have vitamin D. We talked about that before. So they like to sleep, preferably in the sun. They like to look out at the window, even though their eyesight, according to studies, they don't see the world like we see the world. In other words, it's not like, you know, we think, you know, this whole perception is reality thing, you know, where we think we see things. Here's a cat. You should be able to see a tail shortly. Oh, there was a tail there. Okay. Hang out. Have a seat. He's a talking cat. He likes to hang out with me, which is nice. Glad to see he came back. He hadn't been coming down here because he was afraid of the coffee machine. Because it made a weird noise when it, like, a chair keeps falling down. So all I could do is hope that this guy fixes the roof like today. Because tomorrow it's going to storm. Mm-hmm. And that'd be one less spot, you know. Yeah, there's nothing to smell or whatever. Okay? Have a seat. That's my coffee. Yeah, sit. You had breakfast. You had fresh food in your bowl. Look before you leap. You leap back up to a spot over top of this thing. Computer. It was my original little it was a bar I had set up, I built in the kitchen, is now a counter in the front. See, when I first moved here, I had this concept that I was going to maybe open a copy, you know, like a copy shop, do some graphics, you know, part-time money type of thing. Until I got the lay of the land and the neighborhood and realized And what happened was, in the short 5 or 6 years that I've lived here, I think I've lived here about coming up on 6 or something like that. Might be. I don't know. Maybe it is 6 years. I forget. But I used to put out this publication. And I'm looking to see if I have one handy. And I don't know if I do or not. No, unfortunately, I don't. And I put out this little thing. It was like a mini version of the thing I was doing in the last town I was at. And it was like, the entertainment, guide. And it had a list of all the businesses, what was playing at the movies, concerts in the region, list of all businesses, what they did, location, contact info, stuff like that, and then the idea was to get advertising revenue from it. And then to use it and be primarily publish it and use it to promote my do graphics work and copy work in this semi-retired, have this extra income coming in. But in the time, in this short 6 years, whatever it is that I've been bought since I purchased and retired, basically, to this locale, half those businesses went out of business. And then over the past couple of years, they got into this thing where they started demolishing properties on the street. So there's all these like empty spaces in between buildings. Now, I don't know if this is going on all over the country or not. So, and who knows, if I wouldn't have bought this house, which I bought for next to nothing. Like I say, my mortgage, taxes, and insurance are like less than $200 a month. Who knows? Maybe this would have been on a chopping block. And I helped fix up a neighbor's house who's since been like, I don't know, wacky. But that house, if I wouldn't have done what I did with that, I built like a retaining wall. Part of the front of her house, like the way it was, the dirt was like coming out to the sidewalk, and she had no steps going to her. I think they would have basically like condemned that place. They saved her. She didn't even know it. And then I told her, we had a falling out because she's a busybody and nosy and really she's foul-mouthed, and she's a beyond bigoted type of person, and I just didn't, it's like guilt by association, I think the nurses next door at the doctor's office, who I used to be friend in one of them, I think they kind of think, they heard her talking over the fence at me so many times, they thought probably put me in that category of very bizarre. Anyway, it's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But I said, okay, now I built you this retaining wall to hold back the dirt from falling on the sidewalk and make your house look presentable. I painted this weird window thing and caulked it and stuff. Think the part facing my house, it was part to make my house look not as bad, right? I didn't, and I said, okay, you need to put a couple of shrubs above this wall, this little retaining wall I had, so that those roots will absorb when the rain, because she was very poor, her drain pipes don't really work, so the stuff just comes down. I said, you really need to have something there to absorb that water. And I said, these kind of shrub type plants, are a good idea. And they're nice, and it'll give a nice landscaping effect. She listened to me and got like 4 of these things, and I put them in for her. And the place looked actually nice. And it was a thing that, it was a focal point for the eye. So you get this nice wall and these 4 shrubs. And then I put a lattice underneath her porch. A raised porch that also showed this pile of dirt. And I roughly fixed her stairs and put a rail on it, like a wooden rail, so she could actually use, and the mailman could actually use the steps. Though the next project I was going to do for her, and I would have done it this year if she wouldn't have went wacko, was I was going to legitimately, build her a nice set of concrete steps. But anyway, we had this, it wasn't really a falling out. It's just that she was being very busybody and getting in my business and just being crude and rude and that kind of stuff. And I said, I just cut her off. I go stop. And I basically have a fence between, the area where she used to be hanging over my fence. And I'd be out there trying to just kind of relax in the sun, listen to music, enjoy my garden in my yard, my fountain and stuff. And she'd be leaning over and using all these ridiculous things, shouting out the N-word and stuff. They killed my son or something. Yeah, I'm just weird stuff. Okay. Now you know where I'm at. I got to get it off my chest because this really. So I basically covered that fence. I put 4 foot. And that set her off even worse. Now it's and so she wanted to destroy everything. So she somehow ripped those shrubs out. And what she doesn't understand is that retaining wall is not going to last because her drain pipes, the gutters on her thing she won't spend the money. She has money. Not money, but I mean, she worked and she's one of these people who always 15 grand in a mattress type of thing. Pretty sure. So rather than, she could build steps, get her steps repaired, fix her gutters, just pay somebody, to do it. But, if that water just keeps coming down there, I did put a drainage thing in the center of it. That may or may not work. I mean, I tried to take that into consideration, but it's a good possibility that it could just build up and push out. That has nothing to do with thanks for the pepperoni or the Continuum. But I don't know. Like I say, I'm a little bit more awake, but not completely. And I think that's why I moved that sleep supplement thing into my bathroom as opposed to keeping it, bedside on a nightstand, because it's just too strong for me. Melatonin or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I took it because I was taking these other, excuse me here. Sorry. I should have done that behind the pepperoni. The problem is the screen is backwards. Excuse me. Left is right, right is left. It's like stage left, stage right. But I was taking another pill. I don't take pills. Okay, like I say, I take a D3 supplement. And if you're taking that, take it with, I've told you before, take it with some kind of fat. Take it with a soup or something that's fatty. Even a piece of cheese or something, dairy or something would suffice. Otherwise, if you're just taking these supplements with glasses of water, you're just going to piss them out. But when I had they first thought I had something called a flutter.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I'm getting into just a talk show here for a little while. And then they thought I had AFib, and then I was on these drugs. Then I saw an electrocardiologist, and they took me off all that stuff. And at this point, they were thinking it was more of stress related and hydration, Like I have to consciously drink water now, like liquids. Like I'm just not thirsty. I used to be. Maybe that's why this problem arose. And I used to also drink I used to drink beer every day. Even though beer will dehydrate you, I used to drink beer on ice. So I guess, and it was light beer too, which is watered down. And then I guess because it did dehydrate you, I would drink a lot of water the next day or something like that. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, at some point, so it was a combination of dehydration and being stressed out, I was like just doing 1,000,001 things. That's why I retired early. Because I said, freedom is fun. I got to get out of this thing. I just want to live life. And so basically the electrocardiologist took me off of everything. And this other doctor, actually the wife of the doctor I usually see, like I said, I think she seems to know more than he does, or at least is more attentive as far as and up to date on the latest things than he is. He's like, this guy comes in, he's in a whirlwind. I don't know where his head's at, but it's not you don't feel like he's focused on you. And I told this doctor, they had given me previously this pill, so I'm not going to mention, but it was like some kind of like anti-stressor type of thing, which I was taking at night, and that was helping me sleep. And I still have a prescription of that, and it was a very low dose of it. And it seemed to work, but it's like a 5-hour type of, it lasts for 5 hours. It's like the whole thing's really weird. And I told the doctor one time, the female doctor, I said, I want to stop taking this thing. I really don't want to take any prescription drugs. And she said, you should try melatonin. And so that's why I ended up getting this stuff. But I had tried it once or twice before. But I guess the in-between times have been 6 months, a year. I have to look to see if the thing even expired. But, it's almost like I forgot that, like, I'm not taking this thing anymore unless I really need to sleep and I'm willing to know that the next day, unless I'm just going to lay in bed all day, that it's not like a headache hangover-y thing. It's just that it's really tough waking up, For me, it's just for me. That's just the way my body responds to it. So for the time being, I guess I'm going to continue to take this prescription thing to mellow out and get to sleep. And the reason I have to do that is because I go to sleep early. And there's a lot of noise around. And it's, and I'm not that sound asleeper type of person. And this kind of thing somehow works to somehow just like turns off all those receptors or whatever it does. It's like I say, it's a fairly mellow thing. Some people take it in the daytime if they've got like anxiety or stress or something, but it's not like a Valium or anything. It's not that strong. It's just it's like about as mellow as light as you can take in lower dose. And so, yeah, I'm just going to continue that until, till it doesn't work anymore. See, the problem with it is that you build up an immunity to it, or not so much an immunity, but it takes more. And the max milligrams on it that the pill comes in is like 2 mgs. They started me on like 0.5. Then they had to up me to 0.1. Take a couple of 0.1s. So I could only go to 0.2, and then that's it. And then at that point, you're like, then you're probably really, because I don't get it high off of it. I don't feel like anything like. It just helps me sleep at this point. Anyway, that's your...
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Little story there. Thanks for the pepperoni. So, but yeah, how about that picture? Yeah. People just don't get it, It's like the beauty of life. There's the beauty of nature, and that's part of nature as far as I'm concerned. I mean, a woman might, look at a guy in a similar pose, whatever, the same way, and that's fine. But it's like, that's it. And for some people that, get into this whole thing, I talk about the senses in general. I mean, that's the sense of touch, right? The skin is your largest organ. But, then there's the sense of taste, this pepperoni pizza. If you're like into that stuff, I mean, I'm sorry if you're a vegan or vegetarian, but I mean, imagine biting into that. Depends on what time of the day it is for you. Like, it doesn't appeal to me right at this moment because I just ate breakfast and stuff. But I mean, yeah. I've been in this kick of ice cream lately, which I shouldn't do because it's my teeth. It's sugary. But at least the front teeth are kind of white and clean and all that. Brush my teeth. I use xylitol, which is something that people don't admit to, and I hope they don't mess with it. But it's I used to get it in this there's a particular gum, which I'm not going to really promote this because I don't want to ruin this thing. But it used to say with xylitol right on the front. Now, when you read the ingredients, xylitol is the first ingredient. And they always say whatever the first thing is, that's like the most predominant thing, But they took that. This chair just wants to keep falling down. They took that off the front. And there was this nutritionist I saw who was talking about this. And that she had used it and had found that it helped fight cavities and stuff. And I use a xylitol toothpaste that I buy. So knock on wood, though I still have a tooth that is just rotting out on me. And it's either going to fall out or I'm going to have it pulled, yanked. I think it's beyond anything. This whole, because I don't believe in root canals. I've known 2 people who've died of root canals. I know someone else who had a root canal and then had to have that tooth yanked and ended up with an infection, and is still going through very expensive, like multi-$1,000 stuff. they're doing to the money, the dentist and veterinarians, those were like two fields that got out of control, in, recent history, for me anyway. You used to, unless you were a farmer or something with animals, cattle or something, I mean, you didn't really know a veterinarian. You might have gotten a shot in the beginning or something. You got a cat at the ASPCA or whatever the heck they call it, or a shelter, animal shelter, and it usually had its shot or shots or whatever, and that was it. And unless something happened, you tried to find a veterinarian. And the cats live fairly long lives. My cousin's cat lived to be 20 something. Cats living to be 18, 19 and stuff. And now you see people have cats and they're dying at 12 or 13. I hope my cat lives to be long. And I blame that on the advent of veterinarians and all of this customized cat foods and cat meds. Right? And all these extra shots they're giving them. And it's the same with dentistry. It's you need to have, dental hygienist. Some people, if under of a certain age, they're like, well, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I've always, Well, let me tell you, it wasn't that way. You went to the dentist and you didn't have teeth cleaning was optional. All right. You went to the dentist and he checked you out and, poked around with the mirror thing and a little poker stick, metal thing, and dug out, if he saw a brown spot or something. And sometimes you just scrape around that, go, no, that's okay. Because a lot of people don't know is your teeth do a little bit of healing. It's not, but sometimes you'd poke around or you hit something and you go, yeah, we gotta, yeah. And then they get the drill out and fill the cavity. And you paid the bill and you left. Once a year, you might go to a dentist or whatever. Sometimes you'd skip years. But, now it's come in for your, like I said, the problem I have, the reason my mouth is in bad shape, apart from the very front, which I work at, it's hard to work on the sides. I brush there, but is that the dentist, because of this stupid plague thing that they don't want to cure, they just want to keep it, as a moneymaker. I just find it hard to believe in the calendar year 2021, modern science, medicine, biology, et cetera, that they can't just have this thing cured. And I'm not talking about what they've tried to do, because apparently through multiple, through direct sources, personal, somebody I know even, watch this show. They get angry when I, refer to it, but because even they themselves are in denial, right? But people who, they still get it. It's no, you cure the thing. But it's with dentistry that, it's you can't, we're not accepting any new customers. Or like I said the other day, I think I did say it on one of these shows. First you come in for a cleaning, and then we'll do an x-ray, and then we'll set up an appointment and decide if you're going to do the filling or what we're going to do with the tooth. And I'm I'm popping Tylenols and using Oragel and all these pain relievers right now today. I don't need a teeth cleaning, right? And I don't care if you take an X-ray, but I mean, why? I could point to the tooth, just drill it out and patch it. And so I ended up going to an oral surgeon and having him pull the tooth because of some frickin' dentist wanted to, like, overbill me. Get the cleaning, get the X-ray, and then get the second appointment and the filling, and probably would have said, "Oh, and we got to do something else here." But before that, come back in 3 months and we'll do another cleaning. Come make an appointment with the dental hygienist, right? And they do the same with animals now. These people, they give them like appointment cards and stuff. It's just another one of the things out there that's just, I know it's ridiculous looking at this. Thanks for the pepperoni. But I mean, you got to understand, this is the world we live in. And that's there for a purpose. It's the absurdity of it all, right? And the misdirection and the misfocus of, like, this is, I don't want news about Trump. I want to see a picture of Pam Anderson. All right. One of the most beautiful women, in America and at her peak, right? Her prime. That's pop culture. I mean, that body's art, But yeah, so everything that we're dealing with right now, and I'm not the only person to say this. I'm sure friends of yours and people in your family have said it. What's up is now down, everything's sideways. It's just, it's wacky. And the lunatics are running the asylum. Every one of these, any one of those things you've ever heard is like suddenly is true. The ridiculous thing. It's ridiculous. And like we've talked about before too, the words no longer mean anything. So, this is insane. Saying it's insane is like, it's nothing. It has no weight, right? So, you have to get back to, this is one of those shows where, I'm more pushing the concept of freedom is fun, right? In fact, I don't know where is freedom is fun? Freedom. It's hard to do. Let's see if I take this back one. And let's see here. No. See, I wanted it centered. I wonder if the freedom goes. Doesn't work. Okay. But anyway, I was just trying to adjust the font. Didn't work for me. But yeah, you just got to break free of it and remember that there's a world, out there. And that's what I tried to do with this book, which I try to push. My last book. I'm pretty sure this is my last book. Because, I'm actually tired of my 10th book. A 10-book collection. But I'm tired of the algorithms. I'm tired of the mistakes. I'm tired of not having an editor to catch something that may or may not have been my fault. I don't know. And it's just one of those things. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy it, because the idea is it's part of this whole thing. Everything you know is wrong. What you don't know, and game over, and the corporatocracy, technocracy, the absurdity of life, but the idea that freedom is fun and that you can get through this thing if you want. You just have to want to. That's the main thing. And don't forget that if you go to TonyCaravanLive.com right now, that everything for the next couple days is like 15% off t-shirts, hoodies, and all that kind of stuff. They sound like Alex. But it does support the show. And these things are cool. And they're not necessarily, I mean, you can get the ROCKFLUX. Hell, you could get a ROCKFLUX sticker. You can get ROCKFLUX on a shirt and a mug. You could get the ROCKFLUX mug. I have one. Complete with a coffee stain on it. But it supports the show. But a lot of the stuff isn't necessarily branded, one way or the other. And wearing a shirt that says, you don't know what you don't know, or everything you know is wrong, right? I guess I got to make a freedom is fun one. I really should do that. Put that up before the holiday season. But if you go to Tony Caravan Live or ROCKFLUX.com, you'll see a schedule of various discounts and free shipping dates. There are different days where it's 15% off. There's certain days it's free shipping. There's some other days where it's 20% off. That's, 20% off. That's, some of these shirts only cost like $18 or something. You know what I mean? So you get free shipping on that or 20% off. It's nothing for a piece of clothing. And I have these shirts and I've washed them multiple times. Same with the hats. I've even washed the hats. Like, you've seen me wear the Game Over hat. I wash that. And, these are very well printed shirts. T-shirts, tote bags. I've got some holiday things up there that don't even have anything to do with it's just an image I've designed. It's like this moose thing, Christmas moose. I don't know if I could go to it or not. Display capture. Let me see. This may throw us off. Last time I did this, it threw us off. But I hope it doesn't. So I'm going to try to go here, display capture, properties, and go to Tony Caravan Live. All right. Turn this on. It's going to look weird temporarily. And I almost forgot how to do it. No, that's not how to do it. I did forget how to do it. Could you believe it? Cancel. Display capture. Forgive me. How could I have forgotten how to do it? I had it down. Rid of this. Oh, wait a second. Thunderbolt display to window. Tony Caravan Live. Yeah, that's it. That has nothing to do with anything. Anyway, so for some reason, I know what I have to do. This is it. I think this is it. Let's see if that. I have to check this. Be patient with me, folks. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So if you go to Tony Caravan Live, I have to bring this into the full screen. You'll see that I've got dates down here where you can get various promotions. And then if you click on these, you're going to see these squares, which might be confusing. But like, here's one coming up. Here's like a Happy New Year. You know, like that's a cool hoodie to wear. You know, this is a nice shirt for $18.99, right? And you know, this is a classic tote bag to take gifts, $13.99. You know? And you know, that's like a really cool hoodie for $35. You know, you can get 15% off of that today. You know, and like I say, if you go back to here, you can see certain days it's 15% off. These days it's free shipping. On November 5 through 10, it's 20% off. You know, so you could, you know, try that anytime you want to. So I'll just turn that off. And we'll just get back to normal. I don't know what this thing is. It's still showing because I'm on display capture. There we go. So I had almost forgotten how that worked. It's not as intuitive as you would think. But for me, you know, I do so many things that, you know, it's hard to be like, you know, some people just do that. Like, you know, some people are like YouTube people and that's what they do, you know. It's like, I don't spend my whole day on the computer. I'm also I'm gardening, you know, I'm growing things. You know, I'm trying to fix an attic, you know. I do, you know, working on designing a menu for somebody, you know, building a website, trading somebody to help pay for this roof repair through doing design work and things like that. You know, and other things in my life and music, and then trying to live life, right? And, you know, and then doing my other creative projects, such as writing 10 books and 50 songs and doing these 2-hour shows and stuff. So it's like, you know, it's hard to keep, you know, being, you know, this Renaissance man type of guy, you know, which, you know, it's not me like trying to toot my horn. It's just the reality. It's like I do so many things. It's like you know, I don't know who said it, but the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, isn't necessarily true for everybody. You know, some people like me, you know, you end up being the jack of all trades. And you can master most of them. But what you have to understand, it's like turning a channel or a switch, more like an old-fashioned television channel switch or a radio, or tuning a radio station, is that, you know, if you have to put your focus in order to do something well, you have to put 100% of your time into it. And then when you're moving somewhere else, it's like you've got to change that channel and say, hey, now I'm doing roof repair, right? Now I'm like nurturing seedlings and dealing with like grow lights and, nutrients for soil, or it's like my own health type of stuff. I'm cooking, preparing meals, right? Chopping garlic, making sure I've got the right ingredients, the turmeric and black pepper, and, and learning new things all the time. Like, I shouldn't have been cooking those red bell peppers. I should have been eating them raw, right? Because otherwise the vitamin C is being cooked out of them. So whatever your focus is, you have, and then just fun focus, freedom is fun, is sometimes I'm focusing on music. And today I'm going to focus on a friend of mine's coming down. And so I've got to focus on, I have one tomato I saved, and I hope it didn't get rotten. I've been saving one tomato because I want to make a salsa for, we're going to have a little happy hour type of thing at my bar in the kitchen. And I've got this Halloween playlist, that I prepared. I've more or less had prepared, but it's classic stuff. Halloween sound effects. I refer to it in this Halloween horror story in here, which I think maybe I'll read on Halloween. But because it's such a bizarre story that even if I read it to you, you still need to buy the book because you got to read it about 16 times to figure out the story. It's one of those kind. The way I write. But I saved this one tomato, and I saved some pieces of garlic that I've harvested from my yard. Some jalapeno peppers, which I didn't get a lot of. Some regular peppers, right? I'm going to look back there because the weather's going to be decent today, and I may have some onions in the ground. And basically what I want to do is I'm trying to make a salsa that is as homegrown as can be. Right? In other words, I already got these these tortilla chips and stuff. Multi-grain type tortilla chips. But I wanted the salsa to be something that is like, not only did I make it, but that the ingredients are, 90% grown, homegrown, real organic, right? That's the only organic. Forget about the word organic in the store. Real organic. Organic is when you grow it and you know the whole process. They call it chain of custody, right? I know where that piece of garlic came from. I know where that tomato came from. I know where that pepper came from. Right? All of these ingredients are things that I nurtured from seed, and used rainwater with, and freshest, everything, was meticulously taken care of. So that's a process, and that's a focus, and then preparing the bar, for a Halloween kind of pre-Halloween party. This is what it'll be, And, and so that's a different mindset, and it's a different focus. And it may seem minor to some people, but, if you ask anyone else who cooks or who prepares things, they'll tell you, it's no easy task. And of course, I've got a Halloween kitty here who's getting picked up. Oh, look at you. You're stretching. And they can hear that. Let's get rid of the title card so they can see you. Oops. Oh, careful with the claws. You don't want to claw the cord. Let's see your face. Where's those eyes? That's a real Halloween kitty. Be free, my friend. You're on a mission, aren't you? There's the tail. Tail on the microphone. And it's 7:16, and it looks like it's getting to be light out there. So either look out the window. The cat has this thing where it's got to like prowl, back and forth. And I also have a few things I have to get from here he comes back again. Go ahead, do your thing. Where's your tail? Show people out. That's your tail. So yeah, being like a semi-gourmet, right? Preparing my own food. So all of these things. And then, and I've been doing repairs around the house and, different things like that. And then I've also had to deal with, like I said, it sounds sick to the average person, but, because of this weird neighbor, I've had to deal with bugs and stuff. So I ordered some more boric acid, which is really the thing to use. But, you just have to be on top of it. And I have a basement. And then I've got to go up in the attic today, and I want to, even though I have a guy who potentially will be fixing one leak on one side, the other side is still very problematic. Have a seat. Have a seat. Look here. Look how comfortable. That's it. Sit. Yeah. Yeah, whatever you're saying. Talking cat. So, yeah, you can be a jack of all trades and you could be a master of all trades. But it's a switch, And some people are like that. I mean, I've been like that. I've worn a lot of hats, so to speak. And that's why a lot of people are critical or like skeptical of things I say and talk and my travels and all that stuff. And it's like, no, it's just a matter of you just have to change the channel. It's like changing a channel in your head. And maybe that's something as we get towards the end of this show, that could apply to this idea of you freeing your mind and getting to the point where freedom is fun. In other words, you have to change the channel. In my case, cut the cord completely. But get out of TV news, get out of social media and stuff. Change the frickin' channel. There's other channels. There's things to discover, things to do. I mean, life is unlimited. I mean, it's not infinite, but I mean, for practical purposes, it is. So, explore, other interests, other things. And, you'd be surprised that, the things you can master, the things that you could, you can do and you'll find that are fun. And it'll give you happiness and peace of mind and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, the stress is greatly reduced once you get out of this game of frustration of this, idiocy. Right? I mean, it's just nuts. So, find something you like and pursue it. I mean, this superfluous, these ephemeral, these, all of this temporary, superficial stuff that the news is. Like I say, the names and places change, but the story's the same. And all it's doing is giving you undue stress. And stress causes inflammation, and it's the worst thing in the world for you. It really is. I mean, if you want to have a good life, you want to have a good quality of life, be free. Scale down your life too, I know people that are just they're caught up in, they just can't imagine, like, giving up certain things, as if like, this material thing. It's like, that, speaking of like George Harrison's album and his music, I think he had a song, Living in the Material World. Like I said, he was one of the more spiritual Beatles, as they called them. But, it's like, you don't have to go off the deep end and become some kind of like, like, I mean, you can if you wanted to. But it's like there are elements of everything that you could bring to bear in your life to improve it and to make, and to find happiness. And that means just identifying, the best of the best. That's what I always say to people. The best of the best. It's like in food, if they tell you there's 12 things that are good for a certain thing, I take all 12. I don't just take 3 of them. I'll put all 12 in my soup or stew, right? And it won't be pepperoni, okay? I mean, it's really, there's nothing against the pizza business, but I mean, that's about the most unhealthy thing in the world. But, it sure tastes good. And every now and then, man, a cheesy pepperoni pizza is like, instantaneously, I just looking at it, I gain about 3 or 4 pounds. But no, I mean, the best of the best, and just focus on that, and your life will improve. Your quality of life will improve. Just clear out the clutter and the sameness. If every day is repetitive for you, in terms of like listening to, yesterday when I turned on the AM radio, it was like, who's that guy? Reminds me of Shemp on the Three Stooges or something. He's the Fox guy, has a radio show. I don't know, but he was on, and I'm listening to him. Excuse me. You've seen the expression on the cat's face when I blew my nose. But I'm listening to him for just a little while, just to have some sound on in this quiet, And everything he said, it's like, it's stuff that he was saying, I've heard like a year or so ago when I used to have TV. It's the same old. And it's, I could see how it could frustrate the hell out of people and drive people nuts. But if you just would get out there and just do something different, and you got to do some soul searching. That's why in my book, I help you with that, likes and dislikes. I have a page where, you could use that to like figure out stuff, right? Make a list, and, get an idea of your budget. I have a page in there that allows you to put down all your things. See if you're living within your means. If you feel stressed out, whatever, go get a pepperoni pizza. Just don't make it a habit of it and get yourself sick by eating junk food every day or something. Anyway, that's pretty much about it for the day. So, visit my websites.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
The only station that matters.
And it truly is the only station that matters. Get a print copy of my book at Amazon. Great solar stuff. You know, like I said, I used that stuff yesterday just because of a freak thing where a FedEx truck knocked over a pole up the street. Go to TonyCaravanLive.locals.com and I have a tip jar. You know, join, subscribe, be a part of it. You know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you. Probably talk to you. I may not talk to you tomorrow. It depends on how my Halloween party goes.
Good morning.
So, until the next time, take care, and